Corporate earnings from the real estate sector. Godrej Properties posted its second quarter numbers. Profits were up 5%. Revenues also saw a boost of about 39%. Pirojsha Godrej, MD CEO at Godrej Properties, now joins us on this conversation. Pirojsha, many thanks for joining us on Bloomberg. My first question to you, I want to understand how you see demand playing out in the residential and commercial real estate segments. Are you expecting volume growth in 2014?
Great to be with you, Asha. I think, as we look at the current environment, both on the residential and commercial front, I think for the sector as a whole, sales have been quite sluggish. I think clearly the weak economy, and particularly in Q2, the rupee fluctuations and other concerns have led to a dampening of demand for real estate. But certainly we expect a much better year in 2014, and I think there will be several drivers of that better performance. I think while interest rates in the short run have increased, I think the tightening cycle will be complete in the current calendar year, and hopefully towards the middle or end of next year we can see rates starting to come down again. Also next year, of course, we have the big event of the election, and I think once the uncertainty of that event is over and once a new government with a fresh mandate comes in, we are quite hopeful that they will be able to push through a more robust economic reform agenda. And I think all of these can have a very big impact on consumer sentiment. And ultimately, real estate is a very sentiment-driven sector.
Sure.
If a customer believes things are headed in the right direction, he doesn't necessarily need to wait for GDP growth to pick up. I think it is that confidence that it will pick up that can lead to much better sales for the real estate sector. And I think, we've seen recent evidence of that even in 2008-9, where after a very, very challenging period, the turnaround was very quick and very robust. So our hope and expectation is certainly that next year will be a much stronger year for the sector.
Pirojsha, I understand that you have a $1.5 billion investment plan in the next 10 years. If you look at it in the short term, what are the projects in the pipeline? Where will you be spending all of this?
Sure, I think it's important to understand that investment in a real estate business, or certainly for a business with a model like ours, which is joint ventures, doesn't actually mean balance sheet investment. These investments will largely be made through funds we raise through sales in the project. So it's really an accrual-based investment that will be considered. And actually over a 10-year period, I think it'll be much larger than the number you mentioned. Of course, an exact figure is very difficult to arrive at. It will depend on a large number of factors, including how successful we are in maintaining our recent track record of adding very value-accretive new projects, how successful we are in rapidly scaling up our execution. But certainly, I think the aspiration of the company is to grow our business very quickly. We think we have every opportunity, given our national presence, given the benefits our brand gives us, given our joint venture business model. We think that there is a large amount of opportunity, and of course sentiments I think currently in the sector and amongst investors in the sector are of course a little bit dampened given the challenging economic environment that the sector has faced. But this is very much, to our mind, a short-term phenomenon, and I think our way of looking at it is of course that we need to do our best to drive current sales and maintain strong operating performance even in a tough environment, but also take advantage of the dislocation in the market that is created by these weak economic times, and use our ability to generate capital to invest intelligently and conservatively in attractive new projects.
Pirojsha, I'm keen to know how you see prices behaving, especially in the urban pockets of Mumbai and Delhi. Do you expect prices to remain stable or cool off given the weak demand that you seem to be alluding to?
It's a very tough question to answer. The honest answer is I have no clue how prices will move in the short term. I think a lot of analysis has been suggesting that prices will reduce sharply, for the last couple of years in these cities. That hasn't come true so far. That said, there is no question that I think something in the market needs to give, and by that I mean that either prices need to come down and thereby volumes need to come back, or consumer confidence needs to improve and volumes need to pick up even at current pricing. Because I think the trend of the last couple of years, where we've seen increasing prices but decreasing volumes, is clearly an unsustainable one. I think again, whether the volumes return, which I'm sure they will return, but whether they return through a price cut or not, I think will be largely dependent on factors not entirely real estate specific. And by that I mean things like interest rates, GDP growth, general consumer sentiment in India.
One final question, Pirojsha. Can you give us a sense of an update of your current projects? I understand that you're developing the entire Vikhroli land bank in Mumbai, that your Ahmedabad project is pretty much near completion. Can you give us a sense of where all of this is headed?
Sure. We have currently in the portfolio about 40 projects. As many as over 20 of those have been added in the last 2 to 3 years. So we've clearly grown the scale of projects we have. Of the ones that are at an ongoing operational stage, there are several. One of our main projects is Godrej Garden City, our township project in Ahmedabad. We've sold now close to 5 million square feet almost in the project over the last few years. Just a few weeks ago, actually, we had first handover of apartments to the customers in the first phase of the project. So that was a big milestone for us. That first phase has been delivered on time to our customers, which has been a big accomplishment for a project of that scale. And I think we've also seen in the last couple of quarters better sales than we've seen for the last couple of years in Ahmedabad, despite the market as a whole performing quite weakly. So I think that project has done quite well. We've also seen a handover of the first phase in our Kolkata project.
Sure.
Our Vikhroli project, we're doing a couple of things currently. We're doing a commercial office building that will partially be used as headquarters for the Godrej Group, and we'll also see external customers coming in. That project's doing very well. The residential project in Vikhroli continues to do well. We have a large number of new projects on the anvil, so we hope to have launches, several launches in Mumbai in the remainder of the financial year in places like Paikala, Chembur, Ghatkopar, and we hope those will drive bookings for us in the second half. And of course we'll have new phase launches in many of our projects around the country. So I think we feel pretty good about the operational scale up that's taking place at the company. If you look at our revenue in the first half, it's grown by about 20%. Profit, both EBITDA and net profit have grown almost 50%. We are scaling up successfully in terms of the number of value accretive new projects we're adding. So all in all, I think we are quite encouraged with how things are going.
Sure.
Of course, we like other developers are under pressure
Right.
on the new sales front given the current environment, but we have what we hope are fairly robust plans to meet that challenge.
Right. We'll leave it there, Pirojsha. Many thanks for joining us with your views. Pirojsha Godrej from Godrej Properties talking about the real estate sector, his own company's plans, and the plan for 2014. Up next, a conversation with Sampath Reddy of Bajaj Allianz Life Insurance. He expects markets to touch new highs this year. Back in business, 2 minutes.